Greetings on this lovely afternoon. The supervisor meeting of April 16th minutes have been reviewed by you folks. Are there any corrections or changes? And if not, I move that we accept them.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, public safety announcement information.
For May, accidents through March 2012, there were 18 accidents versus 17 last year. It's just a 6% change. Total for the year is 45, down from 55 last year, an 18% decrease. There were 8 accidents at intersections, with 2 on Rosedale, 1 at Byard, and 1 at McFarland. There were 10 non-intersection accidents. For the year, nearly half of our non-intersection accidents have been in the Boulevard Pike Route 1 corridor. Police activity for March. There were 107 calls from the county radio, 4 criminal investigations, 7 false alarms, 21 automobile accidents responded to, and 30 traffic arrests. Pilot events for the month. There's the Kennett Township police car back on patrol. You can read between the lines. We took part in a DUI checkpoint on Route 1 10 days ago. They made 965 car stops that resulted in 7 arrests. PennDOT has approved a request to make Rosedale and McFarland a 4-way stop, and we'll be taking action, the next action required tonight. And the house involved in the Christmas fire on Indian Springs Road will be demolished. Any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Amaker, the fact that the Kennett Township police car is back on the road, does that mean the Parkersburg contract is complete, finished?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
Okay, Lisa, would you give us the January to April financial status, please? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, thank you. Yes, you may report.
I put all the financial statements on the website, and I put the pie charts in the back of the room. Somebody did give me a good suggestion today about the pie charts, because it is hard to tell which color goes with which number. So one of our residents suggested I do it a different way next time, and I will. But I'll go over what these are right now so you understand. This is the general fund revenues through April. Instead of just doing the first quarter, I did through April. The $671,537 in the lime green, that's taxes. The major portion of that is the earned income tax. For example, right now the township has received half of its budget for the real estate tax, and we'll get the remainder usually in May. And that budget's $308,000. We received $442,000 for earned income tax, and $76,000 is made up of real estate transfer tax when somebody sells their house, and another $10,000 is made up of prior real estate taxes. Starting up from the top on the left, the $37,078. That one is for cable TV. The township receives $130,000 a year approximately from Verizon and Comcast. They pay us quarterly fees for their ability to run service in our township. The next line over is contributions we received for fee in lieu, which means the development fee, which is $7,500. That was for a 3-lot subdivision on Norway Road that was approved. The next one over is fines and penalties. We budgeted $9,000. We've received $9,441. That's for police fines mainly. And you can see they've been busy. So that's for police fines. We get fines from probation court for any resident who's on probation in the township. They have to pay a fine, and we get a very small portion of it. The next line over is for grants, and that was just for our recycling. Or no, that one was for sewer. The county sent us $1,098 because we monitor septic systems on a, every 3 years. That was a new thing they did. The $45,041 is interest. $26,815 is for building permit fees. We're actually at half of what we budgeted because the building activity has increased a lot in the last few months. The $122 is for police report copies. We charge for, if anybody requests a copy of a police report. The $37,316 is for service fees. That includes liquor license. We receive $200 a year for every liquor license in the township, and we have 6 of them. Subdivision fees, reimbursement for engineering fees for developments, or that also includes building permits. $5,000 we receive for zoning permits, which is part of the building permit fee. And then we receive money for zoning hearing fees, sale of maps and zoning books, and streetlights. It's included in that. I wanted to mention, we, under this, the general fund revenues, we also receive the sewer connection fees. We haven't received any this year. We budgeted $20,000 for that. However, we have that new limestone ridge development up on McFarland Road for the low-income houses. They are going to be required to pay a connection fee for each apartment unit, which is going to come out to $800,000. They just found that out. Yeah. They wanted us to charge them based on each building, but the borough requires us to charge them based on apartment unit. And then I already explained the taxes. Does anybody have any questions on the revenues before I move to the expenditures? Yes.
Yes, Richard Gaw, Chester County Press. Lisa, could you just repeat that with regard to the Limestone Ridge development, please? Thank you.
They will have to pay $7,000 per apartment unit for a connection to the sewer.
They meaning
The developer.
and that's Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next.
And a portion of that gets passed on to the borough, Kennett Square.
Okay.
About a third of it, actually.
Okay.
Any other questions on the revenues? Okay, here's the expenditures. I'm going to start at the top with building. That's our expenditures for building inspection. It mainly is, we pay the certificate of use and occupancy. For every new home or building, we charge $200, and $180 of that goes to the fire company in which the building is located in the district. And then our building inspector's salaries in that, and the Act 45 fee. Each building permit is charged $6, and that fee is passed on to the state. We have to pay it quarterly. The next one is committees, which is $4,414. That includes the Safety Committee, the Historic Commission, the Brandywine Valley Scenic Byway, Road Beautification, and the EAC. The conditional use is $21,309, and that was for legal fees and engineering fees for the conditional use process, which was for our most recent conditional use. In the past, we never could get the applicant to reimburse us for those fees. For example, for the Limestone Ridge, their fees accrued to $50,000. But a few years ago, we found a way that we could have them sign something, and so now they have to reimburse us for all those fees. The engineering fees is $34,139. That includes engineering services such as MS4. If they have to go out and look at a drainage issue or a road issue for us, it includes billable services that people, developers or personal property owners have to reimburse. And it includes traffic studies. The next one is fire and emergency services, which is $326,600. That includes payment for a fire marshal. He inspects all of our plans. He goes out to inspect properties when they're burning illegally. And it includes fire company contributions and fire company capital equipment that we pay. General government, which is $36,553, includes supervisors' wages, office supplies, small tools and equipment, general expense, communications, advertising such as the newsletter, and then has the right to know administration in there, and the audit. The hydrants is $17,166. Insurance is $67,127. That includes all the insurance for the township employees and the township buildings and equipment as well. Legal services is $26,342. The maintenance garage is $30,501. That includes garage propane, maintenance to anything at the garage, repairs, equipment, gas, and minor equipment. Miscellaneous expenditures is $12,875. That includes household hazardous waste. Each township is required to pay towards the household hazardous waste pickup. There's 3 a year, and it's usually at New Garden Township, but each township has to contribute. Just like I should have mentioned, back up under insurance, Kennett Township provides workers' comp for Norwood Fire Company, volunteer firefighters, and 4 townships split that cost with Kennett Township. We have to pay it, and then we bill the other townships, and they reimburse us. Back to miscellaneous expenditures. That also includes capital purchases. Office, which is $110,435, includes salaries, computer repairs, treasurer bonds, service agreements, and miscellaneous expense. I have open space on here, which is $3,956. This is its own company now. You'll see later on, but these expenses were paid out of the general fund. So I left the $640 there, and then the Route 52 bike path is under there for $3,316. Then we have payroll taxes for $21,731. We have the pension for the township employees for $10,309. Then we have planning and zoning, which is $18,959. That includes the planning commission's salary and any expenses they incur for reviewing ordinances. And then it also includes the zoning officer salary and the zoning hearing board expenses, such as court reporters and ads for zoning hearings. Police expenses is $66,114. That includes all the expenses for the police, including the part-time officers that we have used this year. Quarterly contributions is $69,525. That includes contributions to Kennett Area Park Authority, Kennett Area Park and Rec, the Kennett Area Senior Center, and once in a while the supervisors contribute to the KAU league. This year they didn't. We pay those contributions quarterly. The roads is $101,158, and that is for all contractor services and the road crew wages. Sewer expenses is $341,867. That includes the new pump station on Creek Road. It includes Ashford's capital costs, the sewer extension completion along Baltimore Pike near the VFW. And then the sewer studies, the township's going to extend the sewer along Creek Road from the new pump station down to almost to McFarland Road on Creek, and on North Union Street, it ends right at Schoolhouse Lane, and they're going to extend it down to 5 Points to address all the failing systems.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Lisa? Thank you. You mentioned Ashford.
Yes.
Is that for the work that is necessary into the future? Are you including that here?
This includes the pump and haul that's been done and the filters that have been cleaned out there.
But the repairs that are going to be happening?
That's not.
That's not here?
No.
Thank
No.
you.
The signs and signals is $5,580. That's for repairs to traffic signals and electricity for traffic signals. But it also includes signs. The township is required to remove all the wooden signs by 2015 now. It was 2013, and replace them with the green, high-density visible signs that you see around now. Snow and ice is $17,495. We budgeted $55,000 for snow and ice, salt for snow and ice, and obviously we didn't really have to use any this year. Now, the township is required to take an additional 600 ton of salt by August, so we will have to pay for that, but that's just a contract we have every year with CoStars. Street lights is $1,558, and those are street lights in Hamilton. Tax collection is $362. That's the fee we pay Berkheimer for taxes that they collect. And the township building is $30,605. That includes propane, general maintenance, elevator repair, minor equipment, electric, yard maintenance. Does anybody have any questions? The open tax revenue, we have received $179,302 for open space tax so far this year. Open space tax, we usually receive it throughout the entire year. Over the past few years, we've received a lot more every year than we budget, which is good. We haven't had any expenses till tonight. The Lily project is the island up at McFarland Road and Old Baltimore Pike. The EAC planted lilies up there. They spent a lot of time doing that, and Longwood Gardens helped, the Lions Club helped, the Township Road Crew helped, and now they're asking people for donations to keep up the maintenance, so we had one donation. The escrow fund is money that we hold for engineering review fees for development. Here's the sewer revenues. We've received $248,534 to date for sewer, and that includes residential sewer fees, industrial sewer fees, Ashford, which is also residential sewer fees, and then the interest and miscellaneous, which is sewer service. When people sell a house that has public sewer, they have to get a sewer cert from the township to make sure there's not an outstanding balance. The sewer fund expenditure is $153,999. It includes the operational costs for all the pump stations. Our pump station cost, we have Victoria Gardens Pump Station, Byers State, VFW, Rosedale Road Pump Station, Ashford Pump Station, and then the Avello or Creek Road Pump Station. This includes their phone bills, their electric bills, or any minor repair that we have to do to it. And then we pay the borough for the residential fees and the industrial fees. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Where is the $343,000 that was in the general revenue
That's
accounted
under
for?
general. That's under general.
Does that ever get paid for out of the sewer fund?
Well, that we're trying to figure, Tim Umbright had explained to the supervisors that the capital cost for sewer, which is the $340,000 we're talking about, should come out of the general fund. That is a dispute right now. Scudder and the other supervisors had asked that I get a determination from our attorney on that, and I'm waiting on that. I reminded him that we need that. So, for example, the money that we'll be getting for connection fees will go against the cost to build the system, but we're waiting for a determination of that, to determine exactly how we should be doing it. This is the state fund revenue. $25,200 is for road turnback. It's money we receive every year. The $25,200 doesn't change. The state gives us that money for each road we have. The $200,657 is for our liquid fuels. That's another fund that the state gives us, and we can only spend it on certain things such as paving. We used to be able to spend it on gas, but now it's quite complicated to spend it on gas. You can spend it on salt, certain supplies, street lights, traffic lights, and capital equipment. This year we decided we would just spend it on paving. And this is the library fund revenue. We've received $64,651. It's library taxes that everybody pays, and we pass that through to the library. As of April, we gave them $46,000, and we've given them another $25,000. And that's it.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any questions? There's an awful lot of numbers that have been put before you folks. This is probably the first time we have had such a thorough explanation of our expenditures on a year-to-date basis.
I will do this again for the second quarter.
Quick question on the fees that are held in escrow. When they get paid out, do you show them anywhere differently than calling it exactly that? 'Cause I don't.
Yes, we just set that up separately, so we haven't, tonight's the first time we're paying fees out of the escrow fund. We're paying one check. So yes, there'll be, for the next quarter, you'll see expenditures out of the escrow fund.
That's why I didn't see them.
Right, because we didn't have any expenditures.
Yes, Lisa, your total expenditures during this period is $1.4 million. I'm not very good with math, so my apologies. Your total revenues were $835,947, not including the additional revenues that you've specified here. Is that correct?
Right.
That's added to the overall revenue
Yes.
base. Okay.
And when you look at the revenues versus the expenditures, the majority of our revenues are received throughout the entire year. For example, the earned income tax, which is our main revenue. And that's not, we receive that throughout the whole year.
I see. Thank you.
Phil Shelton, to add to the response, the township, like all townships, works on a cash basis rather than an accrual basis,
Right.
where you'd be matching revenue and expense, so that revenue and expense can be out of balance in the first 4 months, and that would be
Detailed.
the way it is, rather than thinking that there's something out of miss by the fact that the revenue and the expenses don't match. A commercial business, if they sell inventory, match the expenses of that inventory at the time of sale, showing the profit on the sale. But a township works like a cash box. So it's the cash in and cash out, which is being reflected in what you're saying for the first 4 months.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, let's move on. Bill, go ahead.
Excuse me. The obvious one is $1,400,000 of expenditures and the $836,000 of expenses. Based on your experience, how does this translate to the year end? Are we approximately on budget? Are we below or above?
Well, most of the accounts are pretty close to what we expected for this time of year, except for some of the sewer expenses are higher than we projected.
But there was some income, you mentioned, that was higher than expected.
The earned income tax is usually higher than we project.
And I think you said something, transfer taxes, was it?
We have transfer taxes, that all depends on how many houses are sold and what the price of the
Yeah.
houses.
Right.
And then, but the earned income tax is the one that fluctuates quite a bit.
Mhm. But you don't see anything out of the ordinary that we wouldn't at least meet budget by the end of the year?
The only one that's gonna be out of the ordinary is the sewer. The sewer is the expensive one.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. Let's continue on with the rest of our agenda here. Is there something? Yes, okay. We're going to the first of new business, the Eco-Leaf project.
The handout I'm giving to the supervisors is available for everybody in the entrance table here.
Mr. Chairman, while we're getting ready, could I offer a comment that I wanted to thank our manager for putting together the financial presentation. So it's a lot of work to do that, particularly when this is done, and I know it's highly appreciated by the residents going to that much trouble to explain our numbers. And I wanted to thank the committee for encouraging that and for doing that.
I'm happy to do it.
Good evening, my name is Baruch. I serve as Education Coordinator for the Land Conservancy for Southern Chester County. I'm here tonight to present a project that is beginning on behalf of the Land Conservancy called the New Leaf Eco Center. This is a project that's happening at the Land Conservancy's Vincente Preserve, which is the 11.2-acre parcel, which is on the opposite side of the multi-point intersection here with Eastonville and Rosedale Road. So on your way out, if you're headed that way, if you look on the other side, this is the Vincente Preserve, and I hope you will learn much tonight and be involved as we move along. The Land Conservancy for Southern Chester County is a 501c3 nationally accredited land trust. We are based in Kennett Square, PA. Our offices are in the Willowdale Town Center at the Route 82 and 926 intersection across from the Land Hope. Our mission is to ensure the perpetual preservation and stewardship of open space, natural resources, historic sites, and working agricultural lands throughout Southern Chester County. The Land Conservancy owns and manages 4 nature preserves, 3 of which are currently open to the public daily year-round. The State Line Woods Preserve is an 82-acre preserve with a 4-mile trail. The Marshall Millhouse Trailhead is a 40-acre preserve with a 1.5-mile trail. State Line Woods is off of Old Kennett Road. Marshall Millhouse is off of Creek Road. The Vincente Preserve, the preserves I've already introduced, 11-acre preserve with a 1-mile trail as of now. We're going to learn more about something in a minute. And our most recently acquired preserve is the Auburn Heights 2 property adjacent to the Auburn Heights Preserve, where the Steam Car Museum is. It's an 80-acre bi-state preserve, both PA and Delaware. This will be planned to open to the public later this year, so it's a wonderful new asset for public enjoyment. The Land Conservancy's Vincente Preserve is an 11.2-acre parcel. It's outlined in red here. You can see we come to the intersection of Rosedale and Hillendale Road in the right side corner. The preserve was owned by the Vincente family, a prominent mushroom farming family in the region, and was donated in 2003 to the Land Conservancy with a very open deed. As you can see in the upper right corner of the property, today you'll see there's a tree planting. We'll talk about it in a minute. The waterway running through the property is the Burrows Run tributary. It is a tributary of the Red Clay Creek, the Delaware River Basin. And to the left side, the large area of the property that you see in green is in hay production. It's been in hay production for over 15 years for our region's mushroom farm. The preserve used to be used as a throughway by the Vincente family to get to the mushroom farm on the left side of the property. and we will learn more about the preserve as I continue along on this presentation. When donated to the Land Conservancy in 2003, we worked together with the Natural Resources Conservation Service to put a conservation plan to the preserve. The areas in green was the planned riparian buffer zone. In 2004, together with volunteers from the community, we planted 450 trees and shrubs to create a riparian buffer zone for the Burros Run tributary. A riparian buffer serves to protect the waterways from pollutants and sediment to come into the waterway. There was also wildlife additions by the careful choosing of native plant species in this area. And in the hayfield, it was designed to be a meadow, but it was chosen to be kept to cool season grasses for the hay production, which continues today. The Land Conservancy has made a choice to keep a large part of some of its preserves in active agriculture for our region's mushroom farms. Incidentally, I learned about the Vincente Preserve because I was renting a room in the farmhouse across the street. My background is in permaculture design. Permaculture is holistic design methodology for the designing of ecological human habitats. It serves to, make conscious use of our land and natural resources to suit our needs while benefiting our environment rather than taxing it. So composting was old hat to me, and when I came home and saw this suddenly appear across the street, it piqued a great deal of my interest. I went across and found the kiosk on the preserve, learned about the Land Conservancy, and today I'm a full-time employee. The home composting demonstration was funded by the Mushroom Festival. All proceeds from our annual Mushroom Festival get distributed among nonprofit organizations in the region. We applied to install a composting demonstration area that is open to the public year-round to see what options you have for doing composting in your backyard, choose which one makes sense to you, and learn how to do home composting. The composting demo site was kicked off with 2 public workshops that were free, and we had max participation at 30 people each day. And continuing to this day, we offer home composting workshops on a seasonal basis, and also by appointment. So we hold home composting workshops for school groups and Girl Scout troops, etc. Also last year, we received a funding award from the Sarah Bauer Fund of Kenneth meeting, together with the Chester County Beekeepers Association, to install a 3-hive apiary. So we are cultivating about 40,000 honeybees here at the apiary. And to celebrate, every month we hold open hive days at the apiary. It is run by our apiarist, Dan Borkowski, and these are free for Land Conservancy and Chester County Beekeepers Association members, and $5 for non-members. Our first one is happening this Saturday from 10:30 to 12. I have flyers in the back for those who are interested. We would love to have you come out if you want to learn more about beekeeping, start your own apiary, etc. So, naturally, my inclination is to bring permaculture education to the region, and I linked up with the Land Conservancy as an employee to work together with the Land Conservancy's mission. So to serve the mission of the Land Conservancy, I have worked to create a design plan for the eco-center. Just a very general introduction. It includes holistic land management of the preserved natural lands, so the riparian buffer, the woodlands, the meadowlands are to be improved in habitat for the benefit of all the living creatures involved. Most of the meadow will be turned from cool season grasses to warm season grasses and wildflowers to further support our bees, for example. We're also taking part in ecological habitat restoration projects, and we hope to install an educational trail system across the preserve, which is already on its way forward. And so I will begin by taking on a quick tour through what we plan to do here. So first we're going to start with demonstration educational gardens on the preserve. The educational gardens we have designed to install is a 1,000 square foot area in front of the shed that you can see already on the preserve. The gardens are based on the edible forest garden perennial agriculture model. As you can see, it takes a lesson from nature and the different layers of plant life that exists in the forest. And in addition to native plants, it includes edible and useful species of plants. So we are mimicking nature to grow our own food, to grow food and fiber and medicine by using a design methodology based on nature. Here are two images of adolescent forest gardens, so you can see an example of what this small plot will look like. A little down the line, you have tall fruit and nut trees, you have sprawling plants, vine crops, you have all sorts of perennial vegetables and flowers. So to begin preparation of the soil to install this garden, we had to make sure that the site was suitable. We knew that the site was used as a dumping ground for spent mushroom substrate from the farmhouses. So I had a thought that maybe there might be some chemical residues in the soil. So I took a soil test, I sent it to Avello laboratories in California. I was thinking maybe there was some conventional agriculture pesticide use, but it turns out that we caught low levels of DDT in the soil on this property. DDT is an insecticide that was banned in 1972, but it has a half-life of 100 years, so it is in the soil once it's in the soil. So how do we remediate? Well, Kennett Square is the mushroom farming capital of the world, the mushroom growing capital of the world. We provide the most percentage of mushrooms all across the world. Mushrooms are what we're good at, and mushrooms are good at cleaning up things. In nature, mushrooms serve to break down woody material and plant matter to integrate into the soil for healthy soil life. Incidentally, the mycelium, the part underground that you don't often see of the fruit of the mushroom fruit, it excretes an acid which breaks apart anything with a carbon molecule, which includes oil, diesel fuel, radioactive compounds, any chemical, pesticides, etc. It will break this apart and inactivate it. The oyster mushroom pictured here was found to degrade DDT in the soil by 80% in 1 month's time. We are working together with Phillips Mushrooms to bring in a nice, hefty load of mushroom soil to take care of all the area where we plan to do the educational gardens. In October of last year, we did a demonstration plot, a micromediation workshop, and made a trial that is installation. We learned a lot from this plot. We learned what we needed to do better for bringing in this big load. And although we didn't get a great deal of success of mushrooms growing in our trial bed, we have a leg up this time because we're getting the active growing mycelium. So it should work in a hitch, and we're starting the second week of June. The next part of the eco-center plans are to install an educational trail. Right now, the only area that is accessible is the hayfield. We maintain a mowed perimeter trail. So the whole area by the tributary extending to the riparian buffer restoration area is currently inhospitable to trail users, inaccessible. We are working together with Kennett Township, who has pledged funding to install an educational trail system that will connect to the meadow trail here on the township building property. And we will install a walking trail, a bridge over the tributary, and a raised boardwalk that will meander through the wetlands and meet up with the hayfield. So we are going to begin having volunteer days, so please check our website if you'd like to be a part of this project. We're going to start to prepare the area for installing the educational trail. There will be signage along the trail teaching you about what you're seeing as you walk around the preserve. So here you can see a picture aerial map of, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a dark red line that's connecting our two properties here, so you can see a aerial view of what the trail system connection will be like. The dark perimeter trail in the hayfield, the meandering perimeter trail in the Kennett Township meadow you can see here. Next, we plan to address the issue of stormwater on our preserve. There is a slope down from Rosedale Road right onto the preserve. There's a great deal of stormwater that comes off the road and onto the preserve, making it very wet. Not very nice for people trying to go for a nice walk and stepping in puddles. We are going to address this while addressing several other things by installing vegetative bioswales. What are that? Vegetative bioswales are basically trenches that are hand dug or dug by a front-end loader at perpendicular to the slope. So the water comes down and it meets these trenches, which you can fill up with wood chips or branches. And the soil that's dug out from the trenches are put into a berm on the downside of the slope. And basically what you're doing here is harvesting the storm water right in the soil, right on the land. So it's a very low-tech but high-effective way to address stormwater. And especially here with our rolling hills, it's a really cool thing that even the, agile homeowner can do themselves. Here we have an installed vegetative bioswale system. It was bulked up with compost and planted to a diversity of plants. We're going to be doing careful plant selection of all different layers of trees and understory shrubs to address the pollutants that would come right off the road and trickle down to be more and more clean water as you go down the slope to the point where we can have edibles that we can harvest, medicine, etc. Next, I want to introduce some ideas of facilities we hope to accommodate on this educational preserve. Right now we have a garden shed on site, and we want to utilize the roof of this garden shed to harvest some rainwater. We have two ideas that we're playing with to see which one works best. One is to have a series of rain barrels where the water goes to the first barrel, overflows into the various barrels. The alternative is to put a tower of barrels where the rainwater from the roof trickles down into the barrels underneath them. I'd love to know what you think. Other tentative facilities are a solar-powered geodesic dome greenhouse. The geodesic dome is the ultimate structure for harnessing solar power and cultivating the heat that comes off of the land. So we could effectively grow food year-round in here, and it would be large enough that people could walk inside and explore the greenhouse throughout the year. Other tentative facility is some type of outdoor classroom, something that we could go under if it's raining and still hold workshops. We're thinking maybe a nice wooden pavilion, that's a picture on the top, or to continue with the geodesic dome structure, which is a very simple structure. Buckminster Fuller understood that the triangle is the strongest shape. If you put a whole bunch of triangles together, you end up with a sphere. You cut it in half, you have a dome. You have a very earthquake-resistant, wind-resistant, very able to take a great deal of load from the top structure. If we put a nice canvas, waterproof canvas over top of it, even at night we can shine PowerPoint. So maybe the next PowerPoint I give can be in one of these at night. Please, by all means, this is for the community and to be with the community, so please feel free to contact us. Here's the contact information for you to take down, including the Land Conservancy's website, where you can learn about this project and others we are a part of. I welcome questions and feedback. Please.
Hi, Richard Gaughan, Chester County Press. How is this all going to be paid for?
We are, each project, the larger the project is, we have supplemental funding, but we received our first general funding award this year from the Carolyn Foundation. They chose not to be publicized. But the Carolyn Foundation gave us our first funding award for general activities at the Eco Center. The trail system, we have a request for funding in for the Email Doc Sater Foundation of SECRA. $15,100 has been pledged from Kennett Township, and $5,000 will be coming from the American Mushroom Institute that will be linking up with our micromediation. The Bioswales project is also included in our general funding award, but in addition we applied for a grant from the Cora L. Brooks Foundation. We will hear from them in June. Please.
Have you investigated whether permits are needed to cross the borough run?
Oh yeah, we're working right now to bring the engineer in and start that process. I am very overconfident about making sure we are seeking a permit. We're not going to do any work.
I've heard it's very expensive.
The issue here is whether we have to move forward with certain permits depending on who we get it from. But we're working with Chester County Conservation District on the permitting for this project. So I will be learning a lot more in the next month because we're ready to move forward with engineering. So if you'd like to be in touch, I'd be happy to keep you informed.
Thank you.
Please.
I see you have parking designated there.
That's right.
Are you aware of handicap parking? And if you are, how are you going to control that runoff?
Okay. So the vegetative bioswales, there's going to be a trench all the way down to the parking. The parking and the driveway that you see coming in from the entry of Rosedale is just a thick layer of wood chips that's going to keep getting replenished. So the whole idea is how can we keep that as dry as possible? So we're going to adjust that by making the vegetative biocels all the way up. So it will keep things very, very dry surrounding the perimeter of the parking area. Also, the reason why I chose the driveway and parking area like this is because it's the level land that crosses through the preserve. You can see from the top, from inside, you can see it's totally on the level line. So it was chosen and designed with keeping in mind, making sure that it doesn't get over wet.
So have you determined yet how many handicap spaces you're required to have?
Oh, handicap spaces. So again, this is a very early stage, so far we haven't had to address that. But the driveway and the parking isn't totally finished. Everything that we come is for handling small car loads. As we have more and more to need, then of course we will be addressing this.
Okay, are there any other questions? Mara, thank you very much. I'd like to add one very small technical correction. The Vincennes family gave that land to the Kennett Township Land Trust, and I believe they are still the legal owner of it, as well also as the Marshall Mill House and so forth. That's not too important. Yes?
John and I were just discussing, is this land development that should go through the planning commission or anything, or how's that?
No,
work?
it's not. Maya has been working with our zoning officer to determine if it is land development or not, and I would have to pull out his, I can send you his memo on it. I forget exactly what he called it, but
Arboretum.
that, yes. And it's not
Everything is
required.
temporary, low-impact
Yeah.
structures. We're keeping it open space, preserved while accommodating, educational activities there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
All right.
There's information on the back table if you'd like more.
All right. Okay. Who did we decide we're going to do? Okay. What?
Ordinance 200 is on the agenda. It's for the alternative energy ordinance, which is solar ordinance. The planning commission worked on this ordinance for probably 8 months, and the supervisors finally hashed it out. There still is some, the supervisors are going to adopt this ordinance, as far as I know, tonight, and there will be some changes to the ordinance that the planning commission is going to address in the future. There's certain language and a couple things that one of the supervisors would like to see changed, so the planning commission is working on that.
Let's run the planning commission. Just to clarify that, a good analogy is like when Congress passes a tax act, there's always technical corrections. So what she's addressing is that they're addressing the fact they may pass an imperfect, because you never get to perfect type ordinance, but it will be continuously updated and adjusted to get towards perfect. So the goal was to get something on the books,
Because we have a lot of activity.
so we have something to say about that activity as it comes about.
The ordinance is not just solar, it's a very comprehensive ordinance that touches on geothermal, wind, and et cetera. And it's a very complicated, it's a very new ordinance for our township because it is so new. We have very little experience with a great deal of this, and we too are going to be on a learning curve to make sure that this is done properly. There are some things that, as Bob mentioned, that do need to be fleshed out, and that's going to hopefully be done rather quickly.
And
Go ahead, excuse me. You are?
I'm Shirley Wiener,
Okay.
Victoria Gardens. I was wondering if all the solar panels on Greenwood
yeah,
is what you're talking about?
yeah, that's Longwood Gardens solar panels.
Yeah, but is that,
That would be part of the
Included.
the ordinance itself.
but that makes me feel better.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they were
That's
put
there.
in before we had an ordinance,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's to address future requests for solar energy. The Brandywine Conservancy created this ordinance in working with the planning commission and the supervisors. So, anybody want to make a motion?
Oh, I'll move that we, not to be led, I move that we adopt ordinance number 200, alternative energy ordinance. Sure. Okay. Also, are there any questions? Seeing no questions, I move the question itself. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
The next ordinance,
Excuse me, will this be put on the website then?
it's been on there for 3 months.
How many?
3.
3 months?
Yes.
Uh-oh. They're gonna take my windmill down?
Then the next ordinance, ordinance 201, since the township discharges sewer into the Kennett Borough sewer system, whenever they make a change to their sewer ordinance, we have to adopt the change. This ordinance addresses EPA's new requirements for specific local pollutant limitations. So we have to adopt the EPA table, which explains the parameters for copper, lead, zinc, and phenols, and the maximum concentration from users that can be discharged into the sewer system.
I move we approve ordinance 201.
And also, the question?
Not until after you make the motion first.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Now, are there any questions?
Yes, Gus.
Welcome to the club.
Does that require us to supervise the elimination of these chemistries, or does
The borough monitors
the borough
that.
monitors and then charges us back?
Now, what they do is, the borough has to have all these ordinances in place, so that when they come out and the EPA comes out and checks their system, they have to make sure these are in place, but then the borough also monitors all the levels. And if there's ever an issue with high levels, then they have to do testing. But it's usually high levels from commercial users, not residential.
Hopefully. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of this ordinance 2001?
Aye.
Aye.
Bob, since you're the safety man, do you want to do the next one?
All right. Ordinance 202, this is to amend ordinance number 186. We are adding a four-way stop sign at the intersection of McFarland and Rosedale Roads.
Thank you.
I move we approve this ordinance.
I'll second it. Okay, motion is on the floor that's been seconded. Are there any questions or comments? John?
Are those two roads township roads?
Yes.
Yes.
So we have freedom, so to speak.
Who's going to get PennDOT permission? We got that.
PennDOT gave us permission. The only thing we had to do, I'm sure you've all driven by there, there's yellow cones there right now. We had to dig holes because the township, Albert, correct me if I'm wrong, the township has to put up signs that say four-way stop ahead, and then they have to put up stop signs. There's going to be a lot of signs. And the precaution signs stay up, I think, for 30 days.
That's correct.
And then they can come down, and then it'll just be the stop signs. There has to be 2 stop signs on each road approaching each stop.
That's correct. PennDOT's not approving the four-way stop. PennDOT is approving the change to all red flashers in each direction. Because PennDOT issues a permit for any signalization, state or township roads. That's what we've been waiting for. We talked about this 3 months ago.
Yes.
Just wondering, is there going to be any warning on the Slight Hill going westbound? A warning that there's a stop ahead?
Yes.
Yes.
We talked to PennDOT, and PennDOT is meeting with Albert, I think, and our roadmaster to determine exactly where to put that, because on that hill, they need to make sure there's advance notice. And there's also yellow flashers on the warning signs for 30 days, and then there's red flashers on stop signs. I don't know if the red ones, do they get removed? I know the yellow come down with the signs, but...
No, they can be removed, or we would leave them.
Yeah.
That's not Karen's spot. What happens is PennDOT required advance warning that a stop sign is ahead on both sides of the road in all four directions. So this is gonna happen pretty quick, because the road crew has already put the bases in for all these signs.
So
Yeah.
Higgins, our signal company, is supposed to go out tomorrow and change the yellow lenses to red.
Wow.
And at the same time, our roadmaster is going to put in all the signs,
Yay.
hopefully tomorrow.
So you're saying as of tomorrow, I'm asking.
Well,
that-
I'll confirm that with you tomorrow, because Roger was still waiting for a couple signs, and do you know if he got them in?
No, I don't.
As soon as, if Roger has every sign in, then he can do it.
Okay.
But,
It's gonna happen pretty quick.
yeah, it,
That's,
Yeah.
but
I
we'll
mean,
let
it's,
you
when
know.
it happens, it's gonna happen, like,
Yeah.
Yep.
It all
Okay.
has to happen at the same time.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just have one question in respect to educating, in regards to this four-way stop, and to educating the through traffic that has been traditionally occurring on Rosedale. Is there any kind of, besides the signage, because that isn't necessarily the only effective tool to get people slow? Is there gonna be a temporary speed bump?
No.
Is there gonna be?
No, it's your, to have a driver's license. So if you see a sign up, new or not, that says stop ahead.
True, but you know how well that's worked before.
you have the.
That's.
You got a red light up there, two red lights.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
if you
I
don't
think
pay
that,
attention to those.
plus the amber warning and the red light warning, there should be sufficient warning out there every way you can put it. There's not gonna be, speed bumps are prohibited on roads. The only
Rumble
speed
strip or
bumps,
anything?
no, the only speed bumps the residents don't like them, make a lot of noise, and that's why the ones came out of Woodchuck Way. 50% of the people in Woodchuck Way wanted them put in, back in, and 50% of the people said, live next to them and listen to the noise. An approved speed bump is what you see at the YMCA that the borough has. That is an officially specified state speed bump, which is basically ineffective. It's too low grade. And there's all kinds of liability issues with the speed bumps and that kind of thing. Now, on residential roads, the township supervisors decided in developments, if you want a speed bump, you have to assume liability for it. Was that correct? And nobody has so far. But on this type of road with this volume of traffic, I wouldn't recommend a speed bump.
We'll find out how it works.
But people do ignore signs.
Oh, yes.
And-
We put up, we put up all those signs,
Yeah,
we
they
put
do.
up all those signs, one sequence after another, when the blinking light was installed. And before that, cross traffic does not stop, we put up stop signs, we put blinking red lights on top of the stop signs. We tried everything that we could, and we still had accidents occur there, and the people said, oh, I never saw the signs.
The flasher reduced the severity
It did.
of accidents, but it still didn't drop the volume the way we wanted it to. But
It
they
just-
won't eliminate accidents.
Yeah,
No, it was
just
not.
a continuation of the thought, since the township does have one of those flashing signs, communication things that can be put on the road, something that goes up and says, note, new traffic pattern, something that communicates, wake up, guys, you know,
They have
there's
the
something.
Yeah. Okay, good point.
We have a speed board, but we don't have any communication sign.
Now, the speed board, I think, is what she's referring to.
We
I
can't
thought we
change,
had a
we can't change what that says.
Yeah.
We do not have any.
Can we borrow a communication board?
I don't know where we put it without restricting site distances. I just think we ought to see what happens.
That's a good point.
It's not a requirement of PennDOT that we do that, and they don't do it on any of theirs. And I assume they must have some statistics to back that up, or they would have required us to do it.
Okay, let's continue on, the Kennett Auto Park Sewer Extension, the final payment.
This is payment number 3, in the amount of $6,978.20. I move we approve this payment.
I second it. All those, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
May I ask a question first?
Yes.
I don't recall seeing anything that has vetted out whether all of the expenses have been evaluated and we can give up all of our escrows that protect us to make sure it's been completed. Have we received those?
That's what I sent you guys, April, end of April. And that's
probably why I don't
from
remember.
URS, and it has one sheet in here that explains all the costs that total up to the $69,7820.
Okay, thank you. I vote in favor.
Okay.
This is for the extension along Baltimore Pike near the VFW.
Right. For the Creek Road Pump Station, we have payment number 7, which is also the final payment in the amount of $5,000. I move we approve that payment also.
I second that. Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving along, I have the road report from April 16 to May 21. We have finished skin patching with the efforts of the co-op. The co-op is a group of townships that share the effort to do such skin patching. East Marlboro Township sent a truck and a crew to us for a week, and then we returned the favor to them the following week. Winter is all finished now. All the salt piles are covered and the equipment is put away for storage. We hope. All railroad crossing and stop bars have been painted. We will have a contractor paint the Route 1 and Route 52 stop bars later this season. Our first round of weed control has been finished prior to the start of our first round of mowing. Mowing is underway now. Our new mower is still not here, but will be here probably by the end of this week. Cleanup of all pump stations has been done. We do this each spring. This includes painting and making sure that the manual controls work by testing them. Shoulder work has started. It's being done where it will be, and we will do it all summer. We have been, as somebody said earlier, we're continuing to install new road signs, and they have been done now in Falcon's Lair. The sloping work on a bank on West Hillendale has been done at Raven Drive. The Pico pole will be moved and a new one will be set next week. A new employee has been hired after one of our previous employees left for a new opportunity. His name is Mark Ventanza, and he comes with good experience of township work. We had, by the way, 40 people apply for this vacancy.
Let me correct that. We had over 100 people apply. We only interviewed.
That's right. That's correct. After concerns from the public on our tree trimming safety, we had a new trim basket built for the men to stand in. And this should be an improvement in safety. We've never had a problem with men standing in the bucket to trim trees, but this is just an extra safety precaution.
And I have a picture of it for the supervisors too.
Okay, the Township Road Crew has just finished its basic first aid, CPR, and AED training. This is something that we do annually. The Kennett Run was this last weekend. We closed one lane of Baltimore Pike and also of Miller's Hill. Pipe work will begin this month on Norway and Hillendale roads. Our oil and chip seal program should start sometime this month. And line painting will be done after that's completed. Any questions on the road report?
Does our new employee have a commercial license?
Yes, he does.
Good.
He came from West
Bradford.
West Bradford Township.
Seems very eager, very pleasant person. I think will be a great addition to the road crew.
Mr. Wren, when do you anticipate beginning of the repaving of Hillendale that you brought up before?
I don't have any date on that, Bob.
I talked to Roger about that. He's going to wait for the summer, so it doesn't interfere with school buses and everything in that area.
Makes sense.
Yeah, probably July, late June or July.
Okay, so summer.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to take the extension?
Yeah, we have one request for extension from Mr. Beattycap until June 30th. I move we approve his extension.
And
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
On the BD cap, I sent, just so you know, I sent three of you a question today for 2 items for the Ann Walters letter that I need a decision on, so if you could all look at that. Tom BD cap has asked for a decision on those 2 items. It's very simple.
Okay, we have other business. We have a conservation easement that has been talked about a great deal last month, at last month's meeting. The easement itself still has a couple of small points, particularly as it concerns the definition and the location of a trail easement. And I see Ralph is here tonight. There has been some confusion as to where it will be, but there's also, it's going to be a separate easement from the conservation easement. But we will not go on to the conservation easement just yet, because the first order of business is to approve an agreement to purchase the development rights from Ralph for the conservation easement purpose. You have seen this draft quite some time. It is to pay for the easement on 9.56 acres of land at the corner of McFarland and Rosedale, owned by Ralph Hilldale, pardon. The purchase price is $200,000, which will be paid by the township to the owner at the closing. The closing date will be no less than 10 days, but in no event later than September 30, and that is a way out date. We expect and hope to have this done much sooner than that. We've gone over all of the parts of this purchase agreement. Bob and Scudder, do you have any questions about it?
Have you made a motion?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. Therefore, I will do so. I will make a motion that we accept this purchase agreement as set forth in this.
I'd like to second that motion, but I want to point out that it was I who was concerned about 2 areas last month. One had to do with the appraisal value, and the other one had to do with the easement for public access. I was concerned last month that those areas had not been adequately developed, and I'm now satisfied that the supervisors have, in good faith, reviewed those issues and have addressed them. And so I'm now confident that it's appropriate to go forward with this easement as being presented. As you say, Mike, there are a couple of things that we still have to resolve, but I'm confident that we'll be able to. So I'm pleased to be able to second that motion.
Is there any questions or issues that anyone would like to raise? Seeing none, I move the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be it.
Now, just so I know, what happens next?
We will sign this. We will sign this agreement.
Now what?
So should all 3, or who's, I know that was a question that Stephen asked
I'm
me.
having trouble finding the title page.
Do you want all 3 to sign?
It's, I don't know if Bob requires for all of you to sign it or not, I'm not sure.
No, it will be signed by me. It'll be signed by me, and it will be signed by Ralph Schmidt.
I think Bob said at least one supervisor could sign.
Yes, that's correct. And
So Ralph's going to sign again?
He has to initial the 2 changes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ralph will do that tonight.
Anything you want to get us off my, it's like the Iranian nuclear crisis. Taking that long.
All right.
I wanted to offer a comment. I wanted to congratulate the 3 supervisors for working together on this. There are differences of opinion, differences of approach, different ideas, but if the three supervisors work together, all the residents from Kennett Township benefit from this, and I want to thank you for being able to reach a resolution in just 1 month from the open meeting of having discussed this, just from having discussed this. So I thank you all for what you've done.
It's very kind of you to say so. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. The conservation easement itself, I have a draft here. We have not resolved all of the issues in this, if I remember correctly, Scudder.
We have to still define the public access trail will be.
Yes, and that's the only thing that's not resolved here. And I think we had talked earlier about 2 potential locations, and we do have Ralph Schmidt here. And Ralph, if you would like to make a decision as to where you feel the conservation trail easement should be, please speak.
I have absolutely no concern with the subject of the easement, or the trail, or whatever you want to call it. The problem I have is the township is going to have to move my fence lines in if you want to go along Hillendale Road from my neighbor's property to the intersection with McFarland. Because otherwise there's no way to get animals in there. I don't know of another easement in this township that's populated with animals that have to be kept in.
Ralph, you're referring to the potential for that easement along McFarland Road?
From McFarland to, what's his name? I'm trying to remember. Ryan Donnelly.
Along Hillendale.
Along Hillendale.
The north side of your property?
Yeah. Want to make sure it's clear, that's all.
Okay, well...
Now, if you would like to see somewhere else, you can take the eastern boundary.
We will closet with you later. This perhaps isn't...
Well, I just think you ought to go ahead with it soon.
Okay, we will do that very quickly. Okay. Yes.
I'd actually like to be able to speak up to that. Hello, Mr. Schmidt. My name is Margot Taylor. I'm with a consultant for the Land Conservancy for Southern Chester County. I haven't seen you in a few years. It would be a wonderful thing if we do get the trail right of way to occur along the northern section of your property, which would be the Hillendale section.
That's the one I just mentioned?
Yep, I'm just clarifying. And the eastern section, that is wide enough so that it can, I believe the stream corridor circles around there on the eastern section. And multiple stream crossings would not be favorable for the, the health of the stream more than anything. So that, a 15-foot right-of-way easement would allow us to, to the greatest extent possible, because I know that there is a limitation for a portion of the property to actually accommodate that. But to the greatest extent possible, that would be favorable.
May I clarify something that you said, Margot? When you refer to a right-of-way, that's my understanding is you're talking about an area that can be accessed by the equipment necessary to maintain the trail.
Correct.
But the trail itself would be something less than that, perhaps as narrow as 6 feet.
Oh, even, you could, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for helping me on that, Scudder, because 15 feet is a lot of...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
And I didn't know where we measured. You have a cut through on Hillendale Road there that's at least 13 feet from the road bed. So whatever you do there, you have to ensure the safety of whoever uses it.
Okay.
But if you want to draft it right now this evening...
No, we will not do that.
You can go 6 feet if you like, 3 or 2, whatever. I'd just like to be done with it.
Amen, brother.
You got halfway through. All right.
Halfway. Thank you, my God.
One of two documents.
Oh, my God.
Okay, let's go to the last item on our agenda, the trilogy agreement.
I just wanted to say two things before I went on to that. There aren't many people here that live near McFarland, but I just wanted to let everybody know that the plan, they have applied for the land development for the low-income apartment units. They've submitted land development plans for that. So the planning commission will start.
We're on McFarland.
It's at the top of McFarland between Rosedale and Hillendale, across from News Farm Lane.
Okay.
So, they will be on the planning commission agenda starting in June. And the other thing I wanted to say from the township is I just wanted to give our condolences to the Leto family. Charlie Leto passed away last week, and, you know, he's been a resident of Kennett Township, I think, for 7 years, almost. So, just wanted to say that. The trilogy agreement, which is on the agenda, this is an agreement for the property on McFarland Road. It was the Chandler property. Trilogy Investments bought the property through the courts. Prior to them purchasing it, their bank made them get an agreement signed by the township supervisor stating that the township will allow the conditional use that was approved for that property to run with the property. It does run with the property automatically, but they wanted it in an agreement. The township supervisor signed this agreement last year, and since then Trilogy bought the property and they're working on fixing it up, and in a couple years they will apply for subdivision. In the meantime, Trilogy is partners now with another company called T.I. Kenneth, and they wanted the agreement changed to have that name in it. So that's what this agreement is. It's something that's already in place. Their attorney asked the township attorney to please have the supervisors re-sign the agreement with the correct company name.
And Lisa, just so the record is clear, everything else about the agreement
Everything's the same.
has not changed. Nothing has changed.
Nothing
other
has
than
changed.
Good.
Lisa, so there's a new, is this an additional deeded owner or a different deeded owner?
It's additional. It used to, the owner was just Trilogy Investments, LLC, and now the property would be in the name of Trilogy Investments, LLC, and T.I. Kennett, LP.
And so they are on a deed someplace.
Well, I don't know if they've been put on the deed yet. That's what Bob Adams told me they were working on in the process.
I guess I would just question whether the supervisor should sign something adding a partner that's not a legal owner.
I see your point, Tom.
What it says, what Bob Adams said in there is, if they have to, the bank, in order to have the funding put in place, because I guess the TI is going to give some funding, they have to have this agreement in place, just like they had to have it in place before Trilogy purchased it. That's what how our attorney explained it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's all for funding.
Right.
And I'm not sure that the township has any obligation to...
We don't. This agreement, when this was brought up last year, I remember specifically talking to our attorney about it. We don't have an obligation, or they don't have an obligation to sign it. They agreed to sign it.
Right.
But they don't have an obligation to sign it. All it does is reiterate the conditional use conditions for the property. So I need a motion if you
All right,
guys
I
agree
will
to sign it.
move that. Second. You to sign it, but we have.
No, you three have to sign it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions and comments?
For the limited purposes that are set forth in the presentation, I will vote for it.
All those in favor? Aye. So moved. All right, that's the end of the formal,
I have a question.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm concerned about the Ashford matter at this point.
Okay.
I had raised some questions last week about what we were doing and how we were going to proceed, and I was advised that that there is really virtually an emergency situation going on regarding the sewer system for Ashford. Therefore, I'm concerned that this is the only public meeting we're going to have for another 30 days. Is there something that we should be addressing about Ashford today that should not be put off?
That's a good question. I asked Bob Adams that question, and he told me no, because it's an emergency, just as he said in the past. But, you know, why it's...
You presented the problem and
At
the
a work
outcomes
session.
in March.
Right. But while we're talking about it, I don't know if you're all aware of Ashford, the subdivision on Route 52, and the township sort of inherited that sewer system along with the HOA. And the sewer system that's in there, every 8 years, the township has to have it dug up, new sand put in, the filters have to be fixed, and it costs about $40,000 every time it's done, every 8 years. Our engineer, we had a meeting with the Ashford homeowners at the beginning of the month, and our engineers presented 2 other alternatives. Instead of digging it up every 8 years for $40,000, we could put an open sand mound system in their open space and put a fence around it, which would cost $140,000, something like that. Or we could put a building over it, because people were concerned about the kids climbing the fence. We could put a building over for $160,000. During the meeting, the residents, the supervisors and the residents had decided the residents would go back, look at all the options. Our engineer came up with spreadsheets for the cost for all the options for, what, about 30 years, something like that. And doing all the options, it ends up coming out about the same, and the residents out there would rather see what's there now. They would rather not have a fence enclosing large sand beds. They don't want to see a building. They've come back, they would rather see us just rehab the system again, like we did. And that's what I passed on to the supervisors. It is an emergency situation because DEP is going to start fining the township if we don't fix it.
How many homes are there?
20.
Do we need a motion to go forward with that, or is it presumed we're going to go forward?
Well, since it's an emergency, you don't need one, but you can do one.
I'll move we approve their what was called option 1 to replace the current
Option one.
system. Yeah.
I'll second it.
Did you?
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I just keyed in on that fine that EPA might levy. Why would they levy it to the township but not to the homeowners?
Because technically we're the owners.
We're the co-owners, but
We are an owner by default, unfortunately.
There's a story there, obviously.
it's another one of those builders that walked out.
We're co-owners of all the...
I think you get the drift, Bill.
Right.
Fortunately, you have to worry about the sewer part of your problem, yeah.
We don't worry about that anymore.
But with Ashford, they do pay the township user fees, which only covers barely the operational costs. The other systems all around them, there's 3 other systems on 52 that get charged, that have the same type of system, and they pay a little over double what Ashford pays because they operate that system themselves.
With the way it should be operated.
Right.
Lisa, on this potential fine, is it true now that there's no pollution occurring, we're just doing a lot of pumping?
Right.
Right, because the pumping's costing about, year to date, we've spent like, I think $6,000 on pumping.
And the reason you would get the fine is that we have a dysfunctional system.
Right.
Not that we're
And it's not that
causing any pollution.
Correct, that's correct.
And it's not that the system is a failing system, it's just that the type of system that's out there needs this done every 8 years or else it goes into failure.
It's not,
So by the action you take tonight, you would be able to initiate that work, commencing very quickly.
yes.
Good.
Margo?
I just have a general question, just correct me if my thinking is wrong. So, for the perpetuity of this system, the township will be paying the bulk of these 20 resident sewage systems?
Well,
The residents are gonna pay for it in their fees.
they're going
So you're gonna be able to tack it on
Absolutely.
back to them?
Right.
Okay, that's
you will
what I have.
calculate the new
So
fee.
they were paying a new rate shortly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You back? Go.
Go ahead.
Go
Oh.
ahead.
No, go ahead, mine's just.
Just a quick math, that's only $21 a month for each resident over the 8 years, so it's not a big onerous cost, as long as they're paying for it.
That's just the amortization of.
$40,000 divided by the payments.
I had two questions.
So what's the second thing?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
One was, are we still on schedule for the audit report in June?
Yes.
Okay, and the auditor will make a presentation at that? Okay. The other, second question, back in October of 11, we passed an ordinance about proper building maintenance. I'm getting to him. About 3 months ago, I asked where this thing stood, and Chief McCarthy and I talked about those that we knew about, and he said letters were going out. This was about 3 months ago. Have any of the identified problems been answered to by the owners?
They've all been answered to, but it's not a simple matter of sending a letter and they don't comply with it, send them a fine. It's not what the township agreed to when we enacted the home maintenance ordinances. The reason we put that property maintenance ordinance was to have some control over rental owners. But it can go a step further. A lot of these properties, some of them are bankruptcy, some of them there's property owner disputes, some of them the residents are deceased. So it's not quite as simple as simply send a ticket. The supervisors directed that I work to accomplish this rather than simply fine them, and that's what's being done.
Have we taken any action?
We've taken a lot of action. We've met with them, we've gone over the problems. In some cases, the home that's so bad it has to be taken down. The building inspector's working on that. I just said, this is not going to send a citation just because they didn't comply with a letter on peeling paint. There's more to it than that. It's more complicated than that.
Yeah, and
I don't want to lose it either. If I were to send a citation and it gets before the court says, well, ownership's in dispute. You got the wrong person, then I lose it, then I'm done. That's one thing. The other thing I wanted to mention to the board was, somebody brought up the issue, is Parksburg done? And the answer is no. Because in signing that contract, we left it open to say, if I needed additional services, I could contract them. I could authorize them to work. That DUI task force was something that's state funded. It's to the county. It's made up of county municipal officers. They've been trying to get one in this area of the county for a while. I certainly needed additional help there on Friday night because we were the host department, and Parksburg officer will be helping with the prosecutions on some of them. But had I anticipated that the Kennett run grew as much as it grew in 1 year, I would have had with me this year. Because we closed one lane of Baltimore Pike from Exelon all the way down into the borough, because there's no sidewalks to get the runners who like to use that for warm-up. And then a lot of people walk back. We did quite a bit of work, and we could have used that extra officer out there. We are township of runs. We have 3 runs this month, and we have another one next month, and then we have one in September. So.
Our contract.
All with the good help of our people.
Our contract with Parksburg ends when?
Doesn't. It's open. It authorizes me to
There's no
call them as
termination date.
necessary.
It's
Through a tax service basis.
Yeah.
Chief, would it
Sounds
be
like
too
we're
much
gonna have
to
two
ask that
police.
you provide to the supervisors a written report of your contact to these various homeowners? I'd be interested in who it is, the property, and what it is that prevents them from maintaining property in a reasonably appropriate fashion according to our regulations.
No, not at all. Most of it is funding, and some of the people were elderly and moved into other facilities. Membership is in dispute, so you know where that can go. No problem.
I just,
And I also asked that anybody had additional properties and make sure I had all, but nobody contacted me.
I think that it behooves us that the burden of deciding whether we're going to prosecute or not in some of these situations, I think makes it easier for you if that's kicked back to the supervisors and they have to make that decision.
No, they don't, the borough supervisors can't make that decision, the police officer has to make it.
I understand that, but
No, I'll give you a, no problem.
there may be something that would be easier if we did it. Thank you.
Bill, I just have a question for you. I have a resident, or a potential buyer in your neighborhood who's looking for a private road agreement that's not on file at the township. Do you know if you guys have such a thing?
We do. It's in our bylaws. It identifies not the right-of-way, the part of the road and the sides of the road that belong to the association. And it talks about the membership sharing in the cost of maintaining the road.
This person claims that they contacted the HOA president and can't get a copy of it.
She said that?
That's what she said, and she said the seller doesn't have a copy of it, so I thought maybe you could help.
Well, I could, but I'm not the president or one of the trustees anymore. That's who they have to contact. Is this lady already in place?
She's in contract, under contract for the house. They send her to the township to get the document, and we don't have it.
No. I don't know whether it's in the courthouse, because I think we file our homeowners association with the court. But I can give you the name of the person to contact.
Okay. Who can I contact?
Charles Coburn, Cobourn. Charles Coburn.
Okay. I'll ask him.
I think he's aware of it.
Okay, any other comments? I move we adjourn.
No, my hand is up.
All right.
I have a question for Lisa. When we left the last meeting, you were going to check with a HIPAA lawyer.
And I'm still waiting for a response back from our attorneys on that. I have lots of legal opinions I'm waiting for.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Shirley Campbell. Going back to March 19th meeting, sorry I missed April, so I didn't speak then, but it has to do with this fine line between deliberation and discussion and of these sunshine laws. Reading from the minutes here from the March 19th, this is talking about the proposed public meeting policy, and I don't get into that, but it's a matter of procedure. Mr. Elling, it says here in the minutes, stated that he and Mr. Hammaker did discuss the draft of this public meeting policy. Shirley Campbell states that it violates the sunshine law that Mr. Hammaker and Mr. Elling met in private to discuss. Mr. Elling replied that discussing things is not violating the sunshine law. The supervisors will meet to discuss the policy. Where do you start? I guess what I'm looking for a clarification on is when do you start deliberating, and when are you discussing? Because in the sunshine law it says that deliberation of agents of business is not permitted at conferences. And it's a matter of, we seem to be getting hung up on all this. I mean, we have people saying, hey, it's not, we don't have transparency. Everything is just done in a meeting, a closed meeting, and then announced. And I've personally seen this thing over the past. You could answer that, or else, but I'd like to also to get what the sunshine law warns against. You want to go first, or you want me to read?
No, you have the floor. Go ahead, please.
Okay. All right, sunshine law, and I think we all agree on this. It says municipal officials certainly have the duty to be informed about problems in their community before they reach the point of actual official action. However, it is dangerous to try to justify briefing sessions or information gathering sessions as conferences, or we'll say discussions, and conduct them in closed meetings. Most of these issues will eventually resolve into official action of some sort. The concept of a meeting where members are simply informed and do not discuss issues ignore the basics of group dynamics. Members are all too likely to ask questions, pose possible responses by the municipal government, and debate various courses of action. And then the court decisions cited do not provide any support to the theory of the so-called information sessions as authorized in closed meetings. Because that's a danger. So I mean, we've got to be careful about this. Where do you stop it? Where do you cut off? And again, I come back to this thing because I'm surprised at times over the past that we've come to the announcements when I hadn't heard a word about it. It was just deliberated, supposedly in closed doors, or behind closed doors, and then announced. And so I think we have to be open and transparent.
I agree with you.
And I think we have improved, so.
I think we have.
I'm making sure everything's on the website way ahead of time. You know, I'm trying to make sure the supervisors all discuss everything. So I think, at least I know I feel that we are working very hard at making sure that's happening.
And I agree.
So if we can
I
get
think
something.
we made progress. But, hey, this was 2 months ago, and I tried to address this thing and say, hey, wait a minute. But the minutes only read, it was almost like, says Mr. Elling, replied that the discussion of things is not a violation of the Sunshine Law. Well, that's how you want to interpret that, you know. And so that's what I'm laying before all of us, I guess, is when you stop discussing and start deliberating. Because deliberating is a different matter.
Why so?
And also, like the minutes say, the supervisor will meet to discuss this policy. Well, why not say this will be discussed in an open meeting? Why do the 3 supervisors in a closed meeting discuss this policy? Why not discuss it openly, right here in this meeting, or in a public meeting?
I don't see that we have any problem doing that. I think we ought to make sure we know what we're trying to accomplish when we introduce the subject to be discussed at perhaps the next open meeting.
But there are things.
Bless you.
There are things on a daily basis though that I have to inform them of and ask for their opinion on, just so we can operate. And just, you know, and it might be 5 different components that make up this ordinance that I have to be able to get their opinion on so that they can move forward with it and then present it to the public.
Yeah. And again, what we're talking about here is the spirit, I think, of the
That's right.
Sunshine Law.
Yes.
And I think we have improved, yes. But, hey, let's keep it up. And again, thank you for sharing your product of your pie charts.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, I thought you had a comment, did you?
No, I just wanted to alert that Shirley had a comment.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was gonna get cut off.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't want that in this open meeting.
This all goes back.
You guys already signed it.
Yeah.
This all goes back to what we called at one time workshop discussion sessions. And I think it was a vote of 3 to 2, you suspended them. Have you reconsidered starting up these so we can have?
2 to 1.
Excuse me.
You're getting
2 to
ahead of
1.
yourself, right?
To suspend these meetings, and you also, there was a proposal about having 2 a month at night, this board meeting and another one. And I did clarify that with Lisa, that New Garden does have that. They have 2 meetings at night. Questioning, it goes back. A lot of us feel that those workshop sessions to discuss things and hear you discuss them are very valuable. Are you considering reinstating the workshop sessions?
If we hear enough from folks who want them, we will certainly reconsider having them. We did away with them, as you well know, because we felt that they weren't productive. It took our time and other people's time. But if there is a movement to do it,
do you want a petition signed?
I don't know how to do it, Bill. That'll be up to you to bring it forward. And we'll be glad to consider it. Okay?
Would that mean that you would also consider doing it in the evening if
I
that
don't
is
see why we can, if there is a need and a want from a lot of the people to do this, we can agree, they can propose, we can agree on a time. Morning, noon, or night. Certainly we've done it in the afternoon, the middle, and the late. We've had the late session, we did that for three months, and it was virtually not attended. But hey, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think the New Garden model is good. I've read their minutes, so see how long the meetings go. As I remember, it's like, well, it's 2 meetings per month, and they usually last around an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. And I guess we've been here
An hour and 40 minutes.
Hour and 40
minutes. I move we adjourn.
There's been a motion to adjourn. Is there, I will second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.